The old ship sat in the darkest corner of New Seoul's outer spaceport. Its metal skin was covered in rust spots, like an old man's age marks. Do-hyun Park walked slowly around his grandfather's last gift to him, touching the rough spots with gentle fingers. The ship's name, Haraboji's Dream, was painted in fading white letters on its side. Do-hyun heard laughing from across the hangar. A group of Space Force officers in their clean, pressed uniforms were pointing at his ship. Their leader, Commander Yoonji Kang, spoke loudly enough for her words to reach him. "Look at that piece of junk," she said. "It belongs in a museum of failed ships, not in our modern spaceport." Do-hyun kept his face calm, though his hands tightened into fists. He watched as bright, shiny ships landed at the inner ports through the huge hangar windows. Their hulls gleamed like fresh silver. Next to them, his grandfather's old mining ship looked like a tired worker among beauty queens. But Do-hyun knew better than to judge things by how they looked. His grandfather had taught him that lesson well. He climbed up the ship's entry ladder, his boots making hollow sounds on the metal steps. Inside, the ship was different from its outside look. The control room was clean and well kept. Do-hyun had spent countless hours fixing and polishing every switch and screen. The old chairs were covered in new padding, and all the metal surfaces shone under the bright lights. Do-hyun sat in the captain's chair, his chair now. He touched the worn spots on the armrests where his grandfather's hands had rested for so many years. The memories came back strong and clear. A ship is more than its shell, his grandfather had told him many times. It's what's inside that matters. Remember that, Do-hyun. Others will see rust and age, but you must see the heart beneath. The sound of boots on metal made Do-hyun turn around. Commander Yoonji stood in his doorway, her perfect uniform making the ship's worn interior look even older. "Park," she said, not bothering with polite words, "your dock fees are due tomorrow. Double the normal rate since you're taking up commercial space with this ancient artifact." Do-hyun nodded calmly. "The fees will be paid, Commander. My mining runs bring in enough to keep my ship here." "Mining?" She laughed. "In this old thing. The modern mining ships get 10 times the ice from Europa in half the time. You're wasting your life with this outdated technology." Do-hyun watched her leave, her boots making sharp sounds on his ship's floor. When she was gone, he turned to the control panel and pressed a hidden button under the main screen. A secret panel slid open, showing equipment that would have made Commander Yoonji's eyes go wide with surprise. His grandfather's outdated sensors were anything but simple mining tools. Do-hyun smiled as he checked the readings from his last trip to Europa. The numbers showed something strange under the ice, something the fancy new ships had missed completely. "They see rust," he whispered, touching the screen gently. "They don't see the treasures you hid in plain sight, Haraboji." The next morning, Do-hyun paid his dock fees without complaint. He listened to the jokes and whispers as he loaded supplies into his ship. Let them laugh, he thought. Let them think his ship was worthless. His grandfather had taught him that sometimes the best place to hide something valuable was behind a mask of age and rust. As the hangar doors opened to the darkness of space, Do-hyun smiled at the shiny new ships around him. They might be faster and prettier, but they didn't have his grandfather's secrets. They didn't have the special tools hidden beneath layers of fake rust and old paint. Most importantly, they didn't have the strange readings from Europa that kept Do-hyun awake at night, dreaming of what he might find under the ice. The Haraboji's Dream lifted off slowly, its engines making more noise than the modern ships. But Do-hyun didn't mind. He knew that sometimes the most important things in life hide behind humble faces, and he was ready to prove it to everyone who had ever laughed at his rusty ship. Europa's ice stretched out before Do-hyun like a giant white blanket. His ship, the Haraboji's Dream, floated quietly above the frozen moon's surface. Through the front window, he could see 3 Space Force mining ships in the distance. Their drills cut into the ice like hot knives, sending up clouds of frozen dust. Do-hyun checked his grandfather's special sensors again. The hidden screen showed something deep under the ice, something that made his heart beat faster. The reading was unlike anything he had seen before, a strong energy signal coming from about 2 miles below the surface. "Let's see what you're hiding down there," Do-hyun said softly. He moved his ship away from the Space Force mining area. They wouldn't notice him leaving. They never paid attention to his outdated ship anyway. The Haraboji's dream carried him to a quiet spot far from the other ships. Here, the ice was thicker and harder to mine. That's why the modern ships stayed away. But Do-hyun wasn't here to mine ice. He was following the strange energy reading that only his grandfather's sensors could detect. Do-hyun pressed another hidden button, and panels opened along his ship's belly. Special drilling equipment came out, tools that looked old and simple but were actually very advanced. His grandfather had made them look rusty and worn on purpose, hiding their true power. As he started the drill, Commander Yoonji's voice came through his radio. "Park, what are you doing in the restricted zone? This area is too dangerous for mining." "Just testing some equipment, Commander," Do-hyun answered calmly. "Don't worry about my old ship. We'll stay out of your way." He heard her laugh. "Testing what?" "Those ancient drills. Don't waste your time. The ice is too thick there for your outdated tools." Do-hyun smiled as he turned off the radio. The ancient drill was already cutting through the ice faster than any modern mining tool. His grandfather's technology was special. It didn't break the ice like other drills. Instead, it melted a clean path down through the frozen layers. Hour after hour, Do-hyun guided his ship deeper into the ice. The Space Force ships passed overhead many times, but their sensors couldn't see through the thick ice layer. They had no idea what was happening below them. As the drill went deeper, Do-hyun's hidden sensors showed more details. There was a huge empty space under the ice, like a giant bubble trapped in the frozen moon. And in that space, something was giving off energy, something that had been waiting there for a very long time. Suddenly, his drill broke through the last ice layer. Do-hyun's screens lit up with new information. The empty space was even bigger than he had thought. It was like an underground ocean, protected from the frozen surface by miles of thick ice. But that wasn't what made Do-hyun's hands shake with excitement. His grandfather's sensors were showing him something impossible, something that looked like buildings under the ice. Not natural formations, but structures made by intelligent beings. "You knew," Do-hyun whispered, touching his grandfather's picture on the control panel. "You knew something was down here. That's why you gave me these special tools. That's why you made everyone think this ship was just an old mining vessel." Above him, Commander Yoonji's ships continued their normal mining work. They had no idea that Do-hyun's piece of junk had just made the greatest discovery in human history. Deep beneath Europa's ice, something waited. Something that would change everything. Do-hyun checked his ship's systems one last time. The Haraboji's dream might look old and rusty on the outside, but it was ready for this moment. His grandfather had prepared everything he would need to explore what lay hidden in the dark waters below. "Time to show everyone what this old ship can really do," Do-hyun said. Then he began lowering his ship into the underground ocean, ready to uncover secrets that had been waiting for centuries beneath Europa's frozen surface. The Haraboji's dream sank slowly into Europa's underground ocean. Do-hyun watched in wonder as his ship's lights revealed the dark water around him. Ice floated in strange shapes here, nothing like the clean blocks the mining ships collected above. His grandfather's sensors guided him through the darkness. The water was deep, deeper than Earth's oceans in some places. But Do-hyun wasn't afraid. His ship might look old on the outside, but its hull was stronger than any modern vessel. A shape appeared in his lights. At first, Do-hyun thought it was just another ice formation. Then he saw the straight lines and perfect angles. This was no natural thing. It was a building, a human building, hidden under miles of ice. "This is impossible," Do-hyun whispered. His sensors showed more buildings ahead. It was like finding an underwater city. But that wasn't what surprised him most. One of the buildings had lights on inside. Do-hyun carefully moved his ship closer to the lit building. It looked like some kind of research station. There was an airlock on one side, still working after all these years. As he got closer, a light on his control panel started blinking. Someone was trying to talk to him. A woman's voice came through his speakers. "Unknown vessel, please identify yourself." "This is Research Station Europa 7. Do-hyun's hands shook as he pressed the reply button. "This is Do-hyun Park, captain of the mining vessel, Haraboji's Dream. I didn't expect to find anyone down here." There was a pause. Then the woman spoke again. "A mining vessel? How did you get through the ice? Our sensors show you used some kind of melting technology we've never seen before." "It was my grandfather's design," Do-hyun said. "May I dock with your station? I have many questions." "Granted," the woman replied. "I'm Dr. Hae-hyun Lee. I have questions for you too." Do-hyun carefully connected his ship to the station's airlock. The docking system was old, but his grandfather's ship matched it perfectly, almost as if it had been designed to do so. When the airlock opened, Do-hyun met Dr. Hae-hyun Lee. She was about his age, wearing a simple white research uniform. Her eyes were bright with curiosity as she looked at his ship. "Your grandfather," she said. "What was his name?" "Park Jae-ho," Do-hyun answered. "He passed away 3 years ago." Hae-hyun's eyes went wide. Park Jae-ho, the famous explorer who disappeared for 10 years and came back with strange new technology. The one everyone called crazy. Do-hyun nodded. "That's my grandfather. He wasn't crazy. He knew something was down here. That's why he gave me this ship." Hae-hyun led Do-hyun through the research station. The halls were old but well kept. Computers hummed softly, monitoring something Do-hyun couldn't see. "I've been down here for 6 months," Hae-hyun explained. "The Space Force thinks this is just an old ice research station. They don't know what we really found." She stopped at a large window looking into a dark room. "Your grandfather found it first, didn't he? That's why he changed his ship." Do-hyun looked through the window. In the room beyond, something glowed with a soft blue light. It looked like a giant ring standing on its end, covered in markings he had never seen before. "What is it?" he asked. "We don't know exactly," Hae-hyun said. "But we think it's a doorway. A doorway to somewhere very far away." She turned to look at Do-hyun. "Your grandfather's ship, it has technology from the other side, doesn't it? That's why you could find us when no one else could." Before Do-hyun could answer, alarms started ringing through the station. Hae-hyun ran to a computer screen. Her face went pale as she read the display. "Something's coming," she said. "Something big. And it's not from Earth." Do-hyun looked at the readings. High above them, beyond Europa's ice, ships were appearing. But they weren't Space Force vessels. They were something else, something his grandfather had warned him about in his final days. The secret under the ice wasn't just a discovery, it was a warning. Hae-hyun moved quickly through the old research station, checking screens and pressing buttons. Do-hyun followed her, watching as more warning lights came on. Above them, strange ships were getting closer to Europa. "We need to check the station's records," Hae-hyun said. She led Do-hyun to a room filled with old computers. "Your grandfather left something here. A message. I found it 6 months ago, but it was locked. It needed a key that only his ship could provide." Do-hyun looked at his grandfather's ship through the window. "The Haraboji's Dream is the key." "Yes," Hae-hyun said. "Quick, connect your ship's computer to our system." Do-hyun ran back to his ship. He knew exactly what to do. Under the main control panel, his grandfather had left a special cable. Do-hyun had always wondered what it was for. Now he knew. When he plugged the cable into the station's computer, the screens came alive. His grandfather's face appeared on the main screen. He looked younger than Do-hyun remembered, but his eyes held the same quiet wisdom. "If you're watching this, His grandfather's recording said, "Then Do-hyun has found the station, and that means they're coming back." He paused, looking sad. I should start at the beginning. The screen changed, showing pictures from 30 years ago. Do-hyun saw his grandfather's ship, but it looked different, new and shiny. There were other ships too, all part of Earth's first deep space mission to Europa. "We found them here," his grandfather continued. "The visitors, as we called them. They came through the gateway, searching for new friends among the stars. They taught us so much, showed us technology we could only dream about. But they also warned us about the others, the ones who followed them, destroying everything they found." Hae-yun grabbed Do-hyun's arm. "The ships above us, they're the destroyers." The recording continued. "We had to hide everything. The gateway, the technology, the truth. The visitors helped us build this station, then they left to draw the destroyers away from Earth. They gave us weapons and shields, but said we couldn't use them until the right time. Until the destroyers found us again." Do-hyun watched as the screen showed his grandfather changing his ship, hiding advanced technology under a cover of rust and old parts. "I made my ship look weak," his grandfather said. "The destroyers would scan it and see nothing important, just a rusty mining vessel. But inside, it carries the power to fight back." The recording showed more pictures, secret rooms in the station, hidden weapons, and maps of underground tunnels. Do-hyun, his grandfather said, "The Haraboji's dream isn't just a ship. It's a key. It can activate the gateway and power up the station's defenses. The rust, the old looks, it was all to protect these secrets until they were needed." Hae-yun was already checking the maps on other screens. "These tunnels, they lead to weapon stations all through Europa's ocean. Your grandfather and the visitors built a whole defense system under the ice. My son, your father, thought I was crazy." The recording continued. "Everyone did. But I knew this day would come. The destroyers would find us again. That's why I left you the ship, Do-hyun. I knew you would understand. You always saw the truth behind things." The screen changed one last time, showing detailed instructions. "There isn't much time," his grandfather said. "The weapons need to be activated in the right order. Hae-yun knows the station's systems. Together, you can wake up Europa's defenses, save Earth. Make this old man proud." The recording ended. Do-hyun and Hae-yun looked at each other as alarms kept ringing. Through the station's windows, they could see more ships appearing above the ice. "Your grandfather wasn't crazy," Hae-yun said softly. "He was a hero. And now we have to be heroes too." Do-hyun nodded, touching the ship's controls. The rusty mining vessel had one more secret to share: the power to save humanity. It was time to show everyone what his grandfather's legacy could really do. The space above Europa turned bright with weapons fire. The destroyer ships had arrived, huge black vessels that looked like giant spears. They moved fast, cutting through the Space Force's defense line like it wasn't even there. Commander Yoonji's voice crackled over the emergency radio. "All ships, fall back. Our weapons aren't working. I repeat, fall back to Mars orbit." Do-hyun and Hae-yun watched from the underwater station's control room as the Space Force ships tried to fight. Their best weapons, plasma cannons and fusion missiles, just bounced off the destroyer ship's shields. "They're being slaughtered up there," Hae-yun said softly. She typed quickly on the old computer, bringing up more screens. "We need to activate the defense system now." Do-hyun ran back to his ship. The Haraboji's dream was already connected to the station's systems. Now he understood why his grandfather had put so many power cells in the ship's cargo holds, disguising them as old mining equipment. Starting power transfer, he called to Hae-yun. He pressed the hidden buttons in sequence, just like his grandfather's message had shown. The ship's engines began to hum, not the rough sound everyone knew, but a smooth, powerful tone. Above them, Commander Yoonji's ship took a direct hit. Do-hyun watched on the screens as her engines failed. Her ship began to fall toward Europa's ice. "We can't let them die up there," Do-hyun said. He pressed another button, and part of his ship's rusty hull fell away. Underneath was something that looked like a silver antenna. "Hey-yun, can you extend the station's shield?" "Already on it," she answered. Her fingers flew over the controls. "Your grandfather left notes about this. The station's shield can reach up through the ice, but we only have enough power for one try." The destroyer ships were getting closer to Europa's surface. 3 more Space Force ships had been hit. Commander Yoonji's damaged ship was spinning, getting closer to crashing into the ice. "Now," Do-hyun shouted. He turned the silver antenna toward the ice above them. Hae-yun pressed the final button. A beam of blue light shot from the HFY Dream into the station's systems. Suddenly, the whole underwater base lit up with the same blue glow. Energy rushed through the old corridors, bringing ancient machines to life. Up above, just as Commander Yoonji's ship was about to hit the ice, a blue shield appeared. It caught her ship like a soft net, holding it safely. The shield spread out, covering a large area of Europa's surface. The destroyer ships fired at the shield. Their weapons, so strong against Space Force ships, couldn't break through. Commander Yoonji's voice came through the radio again, shaky but alive. "What? What just happened?" "Commander," Do-hyun answered, "get your ships under the shield. Quick." The remaining Space Force ships moved into the protected area. The destroyer ships gathered above them, firing stronger weapons now. The shield held, but Do-hyun could see power levels dropping on his screens. "Hey-yun," he called, "how long can we keep this up?" "The shield is taking too much power," she answered. "We need to activate the gateway. It's the only way to power up the main weapons." Do-hyun looked at his grandfather's ship. The rusty exterior was falling away in more places now, revealing the true ship underneath, a beautiful mix of human and visitor technology. All those years, hidden in plain sight, waiting for this moment. "Commander," Do-hyun said into the radio, "I know you think my ship is just a piece of junk, but right now, it's humanity's best hope. Will you help us?" There was a long pause. Above them, the destroyer ships continued their attack. Finally, Commander Yoonji answered, "Tell me what you need, Park. We're with you." Do-hyun smiled. It was time to show everyone what his grandfather's rusty ship could really do. The real battle for Europa was about to begin. The HFY Dream changed before everyone's eyes. More pieces of rust fell away, revealing smooth silver metal underneath. Lights appeared along its sides, glowing with the same blue color as the shield above. "Amazing," Commander Yoonji's voice came through the radio. She had moved her damaged ship closer to the underwater station. All this time, it was hiding in plain sight. Do-hyun worked quickly at his controls. Each button he pressed woke up more of his grandfather's hidden systems. The ship's old mining arms transformed into weapon ports. The crude-looking antenna array opened like a flower, showing delicate scanning equipment inside. "Hey-yun," he called through the station's comm system. "How's the gateway power-up coming?" "Almost there," she answered. "But Do-hyun, you need to see this. Your grandfather left more than just weapons. He left a message for the visitors." The destroyer ships above were changing their attack pattern. They spread out in a circle, preparing for something bigger. The shield protecting the Space Force ships was starting to flicker. "Commander," Do-hyun said, "I need your ships to form a defensive ring around the station. When we power up the gateway, the destroyers will know exactly where we are." "Understood," Commander Yoonji replied. She sounded different now. No more mockery in her voice, only respect. "All ships, protect that station. The HFY Dream might be our only chance." Do-hyun moved his ship into position near the giant ring-shaped gateway. Up close, he could see that the strange markings on it matched symbols now appearing on his ship's hull. His grandfather had copied the visitors' writing into the ship's very skin, hiding it under fake rust all these years. Gateway power at 60%. Hae-hyun reported. Do-hyun, look at your secondary screen. The message your grandfather left. It's a call for help. Do-hyun checked the screen. The symbols there were different from the ones on the gateway. What does it say? It's telling the visitors that we're ready, Hae-hyun explained excitedly. Your grandfather didn't just build defenses. He built a way to contact the visitors again. The gateway isn't just for weapons. It's a door they can use to come back. Suddenly, the destroyer ships attacked all at once. Their combined weapons made the shields spark and crack. Commander Yoonji's ships fired back with everything they had, but it wasn't enough. Gateway at 80%, Hae-hyun called. But the shield is failing. We need more power. Do-hyun looked at his ship's controls. One panel was still covered in rust. The last hidden system. His grandfather's final message had mentioned it. Use this only when all hope seems lost. It takes great power, but power is worth nothing if we don't survive. Everyone, brace yourselves, Do-hyun said into the radio. He placed his hand on the rusty panel. This might get rough. The panel crumbled under his touch. Inside was a single crystal, glowing with bright blue light. When Do-hyun touched it, energy surged through his ship. The Haraboji's dream lit up like a star. Power readings off the scale. Hae-hyun shouted. Gateway activation at 95%. 98. 100. It's working. The giant ring began to spin. Blue light filled its center, forming a swirling portal. Do-hyun's ship rose from its docking position, no longer pretending to be old or weak. Now it moved like it was built for war. Because it was. Commander, Do-hyun said, get ready. When that portal opens fully, we're going to show these destroyers why they shouldn't have underestimated a rusty old mining ship. The Haraboji's dream took up position in front of the gateway. Its weapons, hidden for so long, were finally ready to fight. Above them, the destroyer ships gathered for another attack. But this time, humanity wasn't defenseless. This time, they had a ship built by someone who knew exactly what was coming. The destroyer ships dove toward Europa's surface, like angry black arrows. They had spotted the gateway's energy signature and knew they had to stop it. Their weapons cut through the weakening shield, sending cracks through the ice above the station. Shield failing. Hae-hyun called from the station's control room. Impact in 30 seconds. Do-hyun's hands moved across his ship's controls. The Haraboji's dream wasn't hiding anymore. Its true weapons hummed with power, ready to fight. Commander Yoonji, he called through the radio. On my signal, fire everything you have at the lead destroyer. We'll show them what Earth ships can do. The Space Force ships moved into attack position. Even with damaged engines, they formed a perfect battle line. Commander Yoonji had trained her crews well. Ready when you are, Park, she answered. Make your grandfather proud. The destroyer ships fired again. This time, their weapons broke through the shield. Ice chunks bigger than buildings fell toward the underwater station. But before they could hit, Do-hyun activated his grandfather's final gift. The crystal in his ship pulsed with blue light. Energy shot from the Haraboji's dream in all directions. Where it touched the falling ice, the chunks stopped in mid-water. The destroyer's weapons couldn't break through this new shield. Now, Do-hyun shouted, hit them with everything. The Space Force ships fired as one. Their weapons mixed with the blue energy from Do-hyun's ship. This time, when they hit the destroyer ships, they did damage. One of the black ships spun away, its hull cracked. Hae-hyun, Do-hyun called. How long until the gateway is ready? 5 minutes, she answered. But Do-hyun, something's coming through already. The gateway's portal spun faster. Light poured from its center. The destroyer ships saw it too. They changed their attack, all firing at once at the underwater station. They're trying to destroy the gateway. Commander Yoonji shouted. We can't hold them all back. Do-hyun knew what he had to do. His grandfather had left one more system, one he had hoped never to use. He pressed his hand against the crystal, feeling its power flow into him. "Everyone, get behind the Haraboji's dream," he ordered. "What comes next might be bright." The crystal's light filled his ship's cockpit. The Haraboji's dream rose higher, placing itself between the destroyers and the gateway. Its hull opened like blooming flower petals, revealing pure energy underneath. 3 minutes to gateway activation, Heyun reported. "Do-hyun, the power readings from your ship, they're higher than anything we've ever seen." The destroyer ships fired everything they had. Their black energy beams cut through the water, heading straight for the gateway. But they never reached it. The Haraboji's dream released its power all at once. A wave of blue light exploded outward, meeting the destroyer's attack head-on. Where the energies met, the water itself seemed to freeze and burn at the same time. 1 minute, Heyun called. "Hold on, Do-hyun, just hold on." He could barely see through the bright light. His ship was shaking, fighting against forces that could tear planets apart. But he held his position. His grandfather had trusted him with this ship, with Earth's defense. He wouldn't fail now. 30 seconds. Heyun's voice was excited. "Something big is coming through the gateway." Through the chaos of energy and light, Do-hyun saw shapes emerging from the portal. Ships, but not like the destroyers. These were beautiful, made of light and crystal. The visitors had heard the call. "This is for you, Haraboji," Do-hyun whispered. Then he released the crystal's full power. The Haraboji's dream lit up like a newborn star. In that moment, everyone watching, the Space Force crews, the destroyer ships, even the returning visitors, saw the true power that had been hiding beneath its rusty exterior all along. 3 months after the Battle of Europa, Do-hyun stood in New Seoul's inner spaceport. His ship, the Haraboji's dream, sat in the most honored docking spot. Its hull still showed some of the old rust marks. Do-hyun had kept them on purpose to remember where it all began. "Still can't believe how much has changed," Commander Yoonji said, walking up beside him. She wasn't wearing her Space Force uniform anymore. Her new clothes showed her rank as Earth's first ambassador to the visitors. "My grandfather would have loved to see this," Do-hyun replied, watching ships land and take off. Some were human vessels, some belonged to the visitors. They shared the space peacefully, just as his grandfather had hoped. Heyun emerged from the Haraboji's dream, carrying new star charts. After the battle, she had become the lead scientist studying the visitors' technology. "The Gateway Network is amazing," she said excitedly. "Your grandfather only saw a small part of it. There are friendly worlds all across the galaxy." Do-hyun smiled, remembering the day everything changed. After his ship's final burst of power, the destroyer ships had retreated. The visitors' arrival had turned the tide. Their ships, beautiful crystal vessels that sailed through space like dreams, had chased the destroyers far from Earth's solar system. "Speaking of the gateway," Commander Yoonji said, "the President wants to know when you'll be ready for the next mission. The visitors say there are more human outposts out there, built in secret, like the Europa Station." "More of my grandfather's hidden places?" Do-hyun asked. Heyun nodded. "We found his old journals in the station. He and the first visitors built safe spots all through the solar system. Each one has technology and weapons waiting to be found, just in case the destroyers ever come back." Do-hyun touched his ship's hull. The Haraboji's dream wasn't alone anymore. Other ships were being built using the same technology, a perfect mix of human engineering and visitor science, but none of them tried to hide what they were. Thanks to his grandfather's plan, humanity didn't need to hide anymore. "Remember when you said my ship belonged in a museum?" Do-hyun asked Commander Yoonji with a smile. She laughed. "I was wrong about a lot of things. Your grandfather, he saved us all, not just by building the defenses, but by teaching us to look deeper than the surface, to see the value in things others might throw away." A group of young Space Force cadets walked by, staring at Do-hyun's ship with wide eyes. They had heard the story. Everyone had. The rusty mining vessel that turned out to be humanity's greatest defender. A ship that proved appearances could be deceiving. They want to name the new academy after your grandfather, Heian said. The Park Jeho School of Space Exploration. What do you think he would say about that? Do-hyun thought about his grandfather, the man everyone had called crazy, who had seen so far into the future. He would probably laugh. Then he would tell the students to look carefully at old things, because sometimes the greatest treasures hide in plain sight. A light flashed from the Gateway monitoring station. New ships were coming through. More visitors arriving to trade and share knowledge with Earth. Do-hyun watched as Space Force vessels moved to escort them, working together like old friends. Ready for another adventure? Heian asked, holding up the star charts. These maps show 3 more hidden stations. Who knows what your grandfather left for us to find? Do-hyun looked at his ship one last time. The Haraboji's dream had changed everything. It had shown humanity that they weren't alone in the universe, and that they were stronger than they knew. Most importantly, it had taught them never to judge by appearances. Let's go, he said. There's a whole galaxy out there, waiting to be explored. And thanks to my grandfather, we're ready for whatever we might find. The Haraboji's dream lifted off smoothly, its engines humming with power. As it rose into the space above Earth, its hull caught the sunlight. The few rust spots that remained gleamed like medals of honor, reminding everyone that sometimes the most extraordinary things come in ordinary packages.